The African Union is standing by to send a delegation to Gabon as post-election violence continues to rage. Another setback in the fight against polio, as a third case is reported in Nigeria. And a tiger rescued from the Gaza Zoo settles into a new life in South Africa. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Gabon is tense on Tuesday as the results of the presidential vote remain unresolved. Now the African Union says it will send a delegation to the Central African nation to help resolve the controversy. The issue has triggered days of deadly riots. Official results showed President Ali Bongo narrowly clinging to power last week, but opposition challenger Jean Ping claims he won the poll. At least 6 people were killed and more than 1,000 were arrested in violence after Wednesday's announcement of a slim victory for Mr. Bongo. The government has dismissed calls from the opposition and Western powers, including the United States and former colonial ruler France, to publish more detailed results, prompting the country's justice minister to resign on Monday. Now to Southeast Asia, where the United States and Laos have announced a new partnership involving economic issues, technology, education, security, the environment and human rights. The agreement followed a meeting between President Barack Obama and Bonhang Varachit in Vientiane. The White House says the new era in their relationship is based on mutual respect and a shared desire to heal the wounds of the past. President Obama, the first sitting U.S. president to visit Laos, announced on Tuesday a 3-year, $90 million contribution to Laos for a national survey of an exploded ordnance and efforts to clear the bombs dropped by U.S. forces in the 1960s and 70s during the Vietnam War. About 1/3 of 2.2 million bombs dropped on Laos remain undetonated. The White House says Mr. Obama expressed his appreciation for the cooperation of Laos in working to account for U.S. personnel who went missing during the war. Now, Laos has been criticized for its human rights record. The two presidents noted in their meeting the benefits of a candid and open dialogue to narrow differences on human rights. Now, as we have mentioned, millions of cluster bomblets still litter the landlocked nation after being dropped by the United States 50 years ago. Now, despite efforts to rid Laos of the exploded ordnance, the leftover pieces continue to kill and maim new victims. VOA's Zlatitsa Hoke has our report.
Demining experts are working to clear as much land as possible so people can grow food, but sometimes they come too late.
This man was making a fire in his garden and a cluster bomb buried nearby exploded. That's how he lost his arm.
During the 1960s and 1970s, the fighting from Vietnam spilled into neighboring Laos, with the United States backing the South Vietnamese government in a fight against the communists. Over a decade, U.S. forces dropped more than 2 million tons of explosives on Laos. An estimated 1/3 of them failed to explode, leaving deadly ordnance in the ground. The leftover bombs have killed or injured an estimated 20,000 people. Despite education, there are new victims all the time. In recent years, most of them have been young people under the age of 15. The founder of the Quality of Life Rehabilitation Group was 8 years old when he was hit by an explosion.
In 2015, our organization met 46 people who had been injured in the past by a bomb and who had never received any help. These people need care and long-term assistance.
The United States has provided financial and developmental support to Laos, but more aid is needed to survey the scale of the problem and minimize the danger.
Estimations are that the national survey will be 5 years and clearance will be a further 20 years. That could be shortened if it was survey and clearance at the same time.
Laos remains the most heavily bombed place on Earth per capita. Since then, the United States has built bridges with its Vietnam War-era foe, but Obama is the first sitting U.S. president to visit Laos.
We kind of, forgive and, we're not angry people, or we have to move on. We don't stay with the past.
In the country's capital, Vientiane, Obama is meeting with the leaders of the 10 members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and the leaders of the group's key partners, China, Japan, and India. Clarissa Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
Well, Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte is expressing regret Tuesday that a comment he made involving vulgar language came across as a personal attack against U.S. President Barack Obama. The remark led to the cancellation of the meeting on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit in Laos.
He regrets that his remarks to the press have caused much controversy. While asserting the intent to chart an independent foreign policy and promote closer ties with all nations, he expressed his deep regret, deep regard, and affinity for President Obama and for the enduring partnership between our nations.
Well, before departing Monday for Laos, Duterte warned President Obama not to lecture him about a crackdown on drug traffickers that has resulted in more than 2,000 killings since he took office in June. It used a Tagalog saying that translates into a phrase commonly used to vilify someone's mother. Obama initially shrugged off Duterte's comments, calling him a colorful guy during a press conference in China. Duterte, who campaigned for the Philippine presidency on promises to end illegal drug activity, has alarmed human rights organizations with his deadly crackdown. He has defended the killing, saying he is following the will of those who elected him. Now, in East Africa, every year, the breakaway Republic of Somaliland exports huge amounts of livestock to Saudi Arabia to feed the millions of Muslim faithful making their pilgrimage to Mecca. Jason Patinkin follows this epic trade from rural markets to the port of Berbera.
From the hinterlands to the capital, Hargeisa, millions of sheep and goats are on the move in the small self-proclaimed Republic of Somaliland. The animals are en route to Saudi Arabia for use as sacrificial offerings for Muslims making the Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca called the Hajj. The livestock trade to the Middle East accounts for 60% of Somaliland's gross domestic product and 70% of its jobs. Some Muslims consider the black-headed sheep to have religious significance relating to the Prophet Abraham. Maulid Hassan Jama has worked at Hargeisa's livestock market for 10 years.
I earn my livelihood from this livestock, and secondly, I feel I am supporting the Islamic community and having a good Hajj festival.
Once sold in the markets, the animals are trucked to the Red Sea port of Berbera, where they wait in quarantine for weeks, receiving blood tests and vaccinations. Past accusations of disease among Somaliland's livestock led Saudi Arabia to temporarily ban imports of Somaliland's animals. Government veterinarian Ali Mahmoud Guled says the Berbera quarantine holds over 1 million animals at the height of the Hajj.
It's very, very important we guarantee that no disease is carried, infected to the importing country, because then that will affect us economically, drastically, to us in a ban of our livestock. So we make sure that each and every animal living here is free of disease.
After quarantine, the sheep and goats load onto ships holding between 20 and 120,000 animals. The animals are often loaded at night when the air is cooler. Somaliland now faces competition from Sudan, Australia, and other countries who also export livestock to the Hajj. Abdi Osman Haji, a researcher with the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, which supports the livestock sector, says Somaliland must modernize its industry to stay ahead.
I'm sure Somaliland cannot maintain its current position if we don't improve the whole business, export business, from the whole value chain. The market facilities that are available are very dilapidated and they are not up to date.
Haji says Somaliland lags behind in terms of treatment of the animals too.
Animal welfare is not on the agenda here, and this has to be introduced. Also, animals when they are being exported, via ships and also trucks. They are not according to international standards, and they should comply with animal welfare conditions.
Even so, the annual export of animals from Somaliland to Saudi Arabia remains vital for both countries. Jason Patinkin for VOA News, Berbera, Somaliland.
That's a lot of sheep. Now, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Coming up, more bad news from Nigeria in the fight against polio. Stay with us.
My name's Carla Babb, and I work the Pentagon beat. That access helps me to do better stories. Every day it's my responsibility to collect all of the defense news. It keeps our VOA viewers informed. I get to travel all across the globe. Anything that's defense related and how to protect and keep people safe, that's where I'll go. So it's never a dull moment at the Pentagon. My name is Carla Babb. This is my beat.
Well, it's time for a health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Madu with some disturbing news in the battle against polio.
That's right. The World Health Organization has confirmed a third case of polio in Nigeria. The Rotary Club in Nigeria says the new case was found in an area recently liberated from Boko Haram. Nigeria was once a global epicenter of the wild polio virus, and it had been declared polio-free last year. But 2 cases were discovered last month among refugees in the Borno Northeast region. A new emergency immunization drive has vaccinated more than 1.5 million children in Borno State. The WHO says the virus has been circulating undetected for 5 years in the region. The immunization campaign is set to spread across the country with a plan to reach 25 million children before the end of the year. The World Health Organization says the yellow fever outbreak in Angola and the Democratic Republic of Congo does not constitute, quote, a public health emergency of international concern. The WHO says vaccination has been the cornerstone of the response. There has also been an intensified response around vector control, enhanced surveillance, technical assistance, and the strengthening of lab capacity, as well as the deployment of mobile labs. The organization says these steps resulted in some positive trends in both countries, with the last case in Angola documented on June 23rd and in the DRC on July 12th. But the WHO says these gains must be maintained.
Although the yellow fever situation is improving, the committee agreed that this event continues to be serious and requires sustained control measures. But again, stress does not constitute a public health emergency of international concern at this time.
We project at the moment that there are more than 6,000 suspected cases. There's been a lot of work to scale up lab capacities both in DRC and Angola, and the labs are currently able to confirm the existing caseload of cases, and we have confirmations of about 1,000 cases now in both countries. But you're quite right that there may be cases that are going undetected, which is why we've tried to step up active case surveillance in both those countries and in surrounding countries.
More than 400 people have died in the DRC and Angola since December, in the worst outbreak of yellow fever in decades. In Kenya and elsewhere, first aid responders constantly put their lives on the line to save the lives of strangers. Collapsed buildings, terror attacks, accidents and other emergencies are an unfortunate part of life. At this site in Huruma in Nairobi, Red Cross volunteers and the Kenyan Army are racing against time. Conspicuously standing out in the gathering is Brenda Alaka. She started volunteering for the Kenya Red Cross in 2007 and was inspired by her father.
My dad was the first person to teach me how to wear gloves. And because he was the orthopedic surgeon, he also called me and told me, I want to teach you how to tie dislocations if someone has fracture. And if you see even right now in my area of work, I really like mobilizing fractures.
The 26-year-old currently volunteers as an emergency dispatch operator. Her work is to coordinate personnel and match them up with crises. Being constantly in the line of danger, these local heroes sometimes need counseling to cope with trauma.
When Uruma happened, I handled bodies to the age of 9 months. So these were infants. And you know I'm a parent. So it really disturbed me, but I thank God I went through counseling, debriefing, and now I'm okay. But Uruma was my worst experience.
This line of work is far from glamorous. Some even die in the line of duty, like the Red Cross hero, Michael Sululu.
There was an oil tanker on the highway in Bungoma that had gone off track and had an accident, and there was spillage. And the police came in, and in the process started shooting in the air, and I think one just lost it and shot, and Michael, while attending to a wounded person, was unfortunately shot at. He lost his life on the way to hospital.
Despite the risks, volunteers such as Brenda focus on the rewards of saving people's lives with each opportunity. And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter at Lenore Moudou. Back to you, Vincent.
Well, Lenore, thank you very much. Now be sure to watch Lenore Moudou's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. Now, up to 60,000 women and girls in France and an estimated 500,000 or more across the European Union are victims of female genital mutilation, a painful and sometimes deadly practice that is also known as FGM or cutting. Experts say immigration is boosting those numbers in Europe as in the United States. Lisa Bryant reports on a newly opened center outside Paris that is among the few in France specializing in FGM.
Miriam still remembers the day she was cut by a woman in her village in Mali. She was only 7 years old. That was 2 decades ago, but she still feels some pain. Today, she's afraid her 5-month-old daughter may be the next victim. That fear drove her from Spain, where she was living as an immigrant, to this women's center in the Paris suburb of Saint-Denis.
We see this kind of woman often, a woman who has been in France only a short period, who has been cut and wants to protect her girl, so she is not cut.
The center is part of a public hospital that serves one of France's poorest, most ethnically mixed areas. About 14% of its births are by mothers who have undergone female genital mutilation. Many are from sub-Saharan Africa, although FGM is also practiced in parts of the Middle East and Asia. Opened in July, the Women's Center acts as a kind of hub, working with local NGOs and offering a range of specialists, including psychologists. Some patients come for ordinary gynecological issues. Others are victims of domestic violence. Still others have been cut, but may not know it until they are medically examined.
Generally, they're women who were born in France and who returned to their home country and don't remember the event because it was so traumatizing.
Ou pas que, des fois c'est un peu plus tard, mais elles s'en souviennent pas parce que je pense que l'événement est tellement traumatisant.
France has a zero-tolerance policy towards FGM that includes prison sentences for offenders, even if the cutting takes place abroad.
So it's a good law, but it's not enough. Just a law is not enough, and it has to be strengthened, and there has to be behavioral change within the communities to stop the FGM.
Miriam, whose real name is not being used for her protection, says her husband wants to return to Mali. If that happens, she says, her daughter will be cut.
We have no choice. It's a practice. I have 7 sisters. They were all cut.
Midwife Delespine examines Miriam's daughter. She writes a certificate that she has not been cut. It aims to protect her from leaving France to a country where FGM is practiced. It may be one solution for this infant, but not for the larger problem of FGM. Lisa Bryant for VOA News, Saint-Denis, France.
And it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, a tiger rescued from what some have called the world's worst zoo settles into a new life. And we'll be right back.
De plusieurs de nos ressortissants.
Allez commencer à démolir la façade là.
Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Haiti Adams-Fitzpatrick. Here's a look at what is trending. Are you an architect or a designer? Well, you've probably seen all sorts of 3D printing pens, but look at this latest one, which lets you sketch out your creative vision in mid-air. The 3Doodler Pro has a range of creative enhancements for designers, such as dials to adjust temperatures and speed of the plastic as it is dispensed. For example, if you are an architect building a delicate structure that would normally collapse when using hot plastic, you can actually turn down the dial, and that makes the pen dispense cooler plastic, which dries almost instantly. The 3D pen also prints with plastics that are blended with other materials, such as wood, copper, bronze, and nylon. You'll notice there's something unusual in this man's drink, but we bet he's not going to be sending it back. This is the Martini Smart Cube, which lets the waiter know exactly when someone wants another drink. It has a plastic ice cube shaped drink sensor. The Smart Cube was introduced by Vermouth brand Martini, and it comes with Bluetooth technology that sends a signal up to 30 meters back to the bar, so no more waiting around to be served. Anyone who uses the Smart Cube, be warned, will only be allowed to order up to 2 drinks. Of course, we want to encourage responsible drinking. And finally, is it an egg? Is it a rugby ball? If you guessed drone, then you're probably right. A Beijing technology company is hoping to shake up the drone market with their eye-catching egg-shaped design. Meet the Power Egg, and it, of course, does look a bit like an ostrich egg with no obvious signs that it can actually fly. But when you switch it on, you'll see 4 rotor blades emerge, and that's how it propels skywards. Power Egg Makers says it is perfect for capturing professional-grade videos and photographs. It has an integrated 4K camera which can give you panoramic 360-degree views. Its sensor-packed body means this drone will fly safely indoors and in places where your GPS won't work. Power Egg's sensors are continuously scanning the ground below, helping it identify its position and, of course, those pesky obstacles. So in case you didn't know, that is what's trending today. Back to you, Vincent.
Well, thanks a lot, Haiti. Now, a tiger saved from starvation in the Gaza Zoo has been moved into a home at a cat sanctuary in South Africa. Now, the tiger called Laziz survived 3 wars in Gaza, including one in 2014 when the zoo was cut off for over 2 weeks during Israeli bombing raids. Here's VOA's Caroline Turner.
This is Lazi, a 9-year-old Bengal tiger on his way to his new home. His name means sweet or tasty, but he could be called lucky. The charity, Four Paws, rescued him along with other animals at the derelict Khan Yunis Zoo in Gaza. Lazi arrived here at Johannesburg after 4 days of traveling in a crate. Iona Dungler, the charity's director of wildlife, supervised the tiger's departure, and she's here to ensure he settles happily into his new home, which is Lion's Rock, a sanctuary for big cats like Lazi.
Lazi was the last tiger of Gaza, so he was very precious also for the Gaza authorities and communities, so he was kind of a symbol. So it was really urgent to act as fast as possible.
Dungler says 9-year-old Lazi suffered abuse at the hands of caretakers in Gaza and was severely malnourished.
The owners were not able to feed their animals anymore, and they literally let them die. So they really died by starvation. Initially there were more than 50 animals, and they died till the last ones, 15 were left.
Although he's a Bengal tiger, it is fitting that Lazi should be here in South Africa. Next month, the country will host the annual Conference of CITES, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. Tigers are one of the endangered species that will be discussed at the conference. Before Lazi is taken to the sanctuary, he's checked by veterinarians.
His condition is good. He's got a little scratch besides his one eye, but that's just due to the crate. He's very calm. He's been in the crate since Monday, so it's a long trip for him this far.
It will take some time for Lazi to feel at home here. He is afraid of metal sounds due to his experience at the zoo.
And what they did were they were using other metal sticks to scare him with the metal bars. Yeah? So he's terrified about everything that is metal and it's loud. And so all the last days for him, of course, were not very comfortable.
Lazi took a while before venturing out into his new world, which is several hectares in size, with tree trunks, rocks, and makeshift structures for him to climb. Lion's Rock already holds around 100 big cats that have been rescued from zoos and circuses around the world. The Four Paws charity launched its rescue effort when it was discovered that the zoo in Gaza was displaying the stuffed corpses of the animals that had died from stress, disease, and starvation. For Dungler, it is an emotional experience.
Slowly, he started walking and exploring. He's not the first one, but it's always for me a joy and a surprise and something special. The first contact with the grass, the first feeling that, okay, that's something new and pleasant, so I keep going on.
Over the next few weeks, Lazi will slowly be introduced to his new surroundings. Mealtimes will include donkey meat and cow legs. Once Lazi feels comfortable and secure, he will be released into a larger area. Carolyn Turner, VOA News.
And that's our show. Have a good night. Thank you.
Welcome to the Voice of America's Newswords. This word is one you hear in stories about business or trade.
Outsourcing.
Ships in America's ports bring in more goods from China than the United States exports to the Asian nation. A key reason is that many U.S. companies have transferred their manufacturing to China, a process called offshore outsourcing.
Outsourcing is when companies send the production of goods or services to another country. Sometimes they hire people in foreign countries to do the work.
Companies do this to save money when labor and other costs are high at home.
So, the next time you hear the word outsourcing,
your American English will be good enough to know what this newsword means.